Alright, we're going.
We're going.
We're going. We're here. I guess.
Again.
Again. Once again. We're here. Once again. Yes, hello. We're back once again. Still do not have an intro. This is episode 20. Something of possibly forever. We'll see. I'm here today with Becca. Hello, Becca.
Hello. Hello, Nolan.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm very well. We are gathered here today to talk about art because you're an artist and you make art, I would say.
I tried. I certainly tried.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like. Do you feel like that's kind of like a buzzword, like art? Would you describe what you do as art?
I think I would describe what I do as art. I think it's more a buzzword to describe myself as an artist because, like.
Oh, that was one of the questions on here, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, how would you describe yourself if not as an artist? Because I would say you're an artist, but
it's a thing that I feel weird about saying about myself because it implies that like I make money doing it or that people give a shit, and
yeah,
I'm pretty confident that that's not the case. It's just
I give a shit. I like it.
Exactly. I like to say that I'm an artsy person.
Yeah, there you go.
More than I'm an artist because I don't make money and I don't think anyone gives a shit about it. So
yeah, I get what you're saying. I kind of feel that way sometimes. Like I feel weird when like someone's like, oh, he's an artist. It's like I don't feel like an artist. I make goofy little things for fun, you know?
Yeah,
I feel that.
You have worked in an industry where you got to like be an artist and you got to.
So did you?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. You worked as a clothing company for a while there.
I did, but that was not what I did there. So.
Yeah, I guess so. The vision I always had of it was more that you had more of like a hands-on role with the things that were made there.
I had a hands-on role after a fashion. I ended up doing fit modeling for them a lot, which was not a thing that I loved, but it was something that I got to have like a little bit of input about what had already been made, the like prototype, if you will, for any given thing and how it fit and what it felt like and was it comfortable, did it look good, but it didn't really, my input wasn't really valued a whole lot, I don't think, so. Gotcha.
Well, that's unfortunate. What would you say that you make then? What would you say, what's your thing? What do you make?
What's my thing? What do I make? I make a lot of things. I don't tend to like make a ton of the same kind of thing. So I've done a lot of paper crafting, which is super fun. I've done some like I've made clothes before. They're not great, but I've done it.
I mean, you made that cape. That cape was cool.
Thank you. I did make that cape. I like playing with clay. I like painting. I like building things and mixed media and everything, but tattoo stuff.
Yeah.
I don't tend to do the same thing all the time.
You kind of jump around a lot. You do work in a lot of mediums, it seems like. I like that your house is decorated with your art, though. And what's nice about it is you can tell that it's yours. Not just because it's in your house, but like you have a kind of sensibility about the way you do things. I don't know how to describe it. It's maybe a little dark at times. It's got kind of like it's a lot of like pretty things, but with like some kind of like a darker undertone to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I don't know. It's very you.
Thank you.
It matches your personality, definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I think you're one of those people that like you seem pretty like peppy on the surface, but then you and I will go off and have like these deep talks about like fuck, man, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, I don't know what to do about making things. Like you have a bunch of opinions on things that I think about a lot.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
I'm an opinionated person in general, so that makes sense. But I didn't think anyone ever took it to heart.
Yeah, I kind of definitely obsess about like the things I make. Do you do that too? Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah, very much.
Like I remember the other day we were talking about like tarot cards because I was gonna make a deck, and you have designed a deck before.
Yes, I have.
And we talked for like a good hour just about like designing that. Like what was your mentality when it went into designing a tarot deck?
I very much wanted to stick to like the classic imagery, but I wanted it to be like more of an homage to like the women of the tarot deck, and so there's actually not a male figure that appears at all in them. It's kind of the same single woman who is the character in each of the cards.
Yeah.
But it does still follow the same. It follows the theme of the classic imagery for it, and for every individual card, as I was making it, I would look up like, what is the classic image of this, and how does it present itself, and how can I make it look that way?
I like that approach to it for sure. What inspired that approach of kind of removing like the male side of the tarot deck? Focusing on like one character.
Mostly, it was at least in part the fact that I was like, I just didn't want to deal with it. Like creating a bunch of different...
Like a different character.
Yes, a different character for every card, because some people do that and it's awesome, but it ends up being a lot. And I didn't want to have to come up with like, what is it, 72 different characters? So,
and there's like more because I think it's 70... Yeah, is it 72 or 78? Yeah, and there's like multiple characters on some cards too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So some of it was me just not wanting to deal with it. And the other part was that the like classic male archetypes that show up in the tarot are like really sexist a lot of times, and they're, indicative of sort of like negatively associated masculine emotions, or strong, powerful men in your life, which is all well and good. Everyone has those, everyone should have those, but like one woman can embody all of that just as well as, pointing to, oh, well, it's not you, it's your dad, or it's not you, it's your brother, it's not you, it's your uncle, it's it's your boss, it's some strong man in your life who
can get you on the right path.
Exactly. Who can get you on the right path, or who's like dominating your emotion.
Get yourself a man. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I really like that. I really like that idea, because tarot to me is definitely something that's supposed to be very personal. And I mean, obviously I'm not as into it as you are. This is kind of my interpretation, but it is supposed to be very personal. So to have kind of one character that you can latch onto and follow their journey as kind of a surrogate of yourself, as opposed to 100+ dudes dressed as like pilgrims, like, I like that idea, They're all like kings and like fiefs and pages. I don't know.
There are pages and stuff.
There's a lot of them.
The other thing is that the whole concept of the tarot is that it's the fool's journey. So the first card is the fool, and it's, the whole concept of stepping into the unknown, and the entire rest of the tarot, if you like spread it out one card at a time, is the journey that first character's taking.
Yeah.
So why would you not have that character take that journey? Why would you have them sort of like evaporate at some point and it becomes a bunch of other people?
Why does this dude become another dude, and then he becomes a lady at some point, and then he's like just nowhere in some cards?
Right, and it's supposed to be representative of the person who's pulling the cards. Obviously, like, it's the fool's journey, it's your journey, but when you muddle it up with a bunch of different characters, where did that person go? Where did you go in the whole story? So
yeah, I think it's cool that you were able to actually get the tarot project done, because I was not. I made one deck one time for my sister.
It was awesome.
It was cool. I was very happy with it, but it was mostly like recycled art that I just already had, that I like just scanned in, and like I literally was working on it on Christmas Eve, like finishing gluing them together so I could put it in a box and give it to my sister. But I think it's cool that you're able to actually finish projects, because there's a lot of times where I get two in my head and I'm like, okay, each card needs to be unique, and like, what could this character represent? And like, oh, I should like tie it into this symbology, but that doesn't work because like I got it in this card. And like, oh, like, what does the moon represent in this card? Can I tie that into other cards? And I'll just get stuck in like a little loop like that forever, which is what kept me from finishing my like V2 deck that I was going to sell. Do you think you'll ever sell your deck?
I don't know. It's a project that I finished, and I was happy that I finished it, because I definitely don't always do that. And it would, like, that was the idea at first. And the farther away from it I get, the more I'm not sure that I like it as much. Like, you know, I would retool some of the imagery if I could, but the way I made it, I kind of can't. And I actually made the second deck that I never got printed, but I actually think would probably be a better one to sell. It doesn't have the same kind of like, it doesn't have the same kind of meaning to me as the first one did. Like, it didn't put as much energy into like the whole concept of it, because it was like hot on the heels of the first one. And it's wildly different, but it would probably be, I don't know, it would probably print better, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever, I was going to ask you about that. Do you ever get, that sometimes? Do you ever like start a project and it just becomes too big in your mind and you can't finish it?
Constantly.
Yeah.
You have
I imagine you also have like some half-finished things kicking around in a drawer somewhere.
It also tends to be a deterrent for me. I have a lot of ideas for a lot of things that I really want to do, but I know that they're so big, and I know that they're like too big, and so I have not even attempted to start them, because I know I can't finish it, or, you know, that I'm gonna get partway through it and get completely lost in the weeds, which happened with the tarot deck a couple times, but you know. Yeah.
It's hard. It's real hard, isn't it? It's like I have a drawer of like projects that I started that never got finished. Like, whether they were like sculpting projects mostly. There were a lot of times where I'd want to make like I was making like a Captain Falcon at one point, because Nintendo will never make a Captain Falcon figure because they hate F-Zero. But so I like started to make that, and I think I started to make that like 3 or 4 years ago, and just never did. Oh, what? You can go ahead.
What's Captain Falcon?
He's from Smash Bros. Falcon Punch.
Okay, Falcon Punch. I hear
that guy. I started to make him, and anyways, I didn't finish him, and I've got that drawer, and it's got like 50 little sculpted things that just like started, and I guess not even like they were too big, but sometimes you just like get tired of them midway, and you're like, I'll come back to it later. And then, I don't know, do they ever like weigh on you? Do you ever get like a little stress migraine when you see them again?
I wouldn't say I get a stress migraine, but I do look at them and think like, oh man. Like, I really want to finish it, I just like
can't.
It's not even that I can't, it's that I'm waiting for the right time, but the right time never comes because I have not made it yet.
Yeah, it's like that little spark, for me at least, it's like that little spark that initially inspired it, like, could just be gone forever. It might never come back, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, that ambition or something. Do you have like a preferred medium, like to make stuff, like to make art in?
I really don't. I like mixed media things a lot, and I like making mixed media things a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to like making flat art, I guess, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Just flat art, yeah.
Yeah, just flat art, because, you know, when you're making a sculpture, you typically use like clay or paper mache or something, and it can kind of inherently be a mixed media venture. But when you're like doing something on a canvas, it tends to be very flat, and I like adding a lot of texture to things. So I like having textural elements in it, but I don't really gravitate towards any single thing. What about you?
I feel like definitely 2D art. I prefer traditional like drawing over like digital, definitely. I like digital art. It can be fun in its own way, but for me, I can never get that like tactile feeling, you know? It's not the same as like drawing with a pencil and using gouache or watercolors or whatever. And I think like 2D drawing is definitely kind of my forte, you know? Do you have a favorite thing that you like to make? Like I like to do character designs mostly. That's like my kind of wheelhouse.
I think it depends on like the day or the mood that I'm in, really, because I end up drawing a lot of faces. And a lot of like figure kind of things. And I also have made like a shit ton of those paper flowers.
Yeah, they're cool. I love those.
I really love them too. And they're fun to make, and they, you know, it's like a cool thing that you have when you're done with it that I now have a ton of that I don't know what to do with. So.
That's like me making toys. I'll make a toy because I'm like, I have a Pac-Man toy now. And it's like, go put that on the shelf with the 50 Marios or whatever.
Which is awesome. Like, that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I know. I totally get it. Are you like the type... How do you feel about like giving your art to other people? Are you kind of like a possessive person over your own art, would you say?
It kind of depends on what it is. I struggle with giving away my art more than anything because I'm like low-key a little embarrassed by it, I think. And just like, you know, it's never as good as I want it to be. And you were talking earlier about how like you can see me in all of my art. I hate that. I hate that so much, and I just can't not do it. And I know that that's like, I was reading something recently about how like everyone hates that aspect of their own art because they can see themselves in it, and like, you know, they have that style that they can't deviate from no matter how hard they try. But it's like, you hate the thing that makes your art special because it's you in it, and you just hate yourself. Like,
interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, that's the part, people like that your personality is in it, and that's usually the thing that most artists hate about their art, because, I don't know, why do you think so many artists are so like self-loathing in that way? Why do you think that we're so critical of ourselves?
I mean, I think it's probably has a lot to do with the fact that we're constantly pulling things out of our brains and making them real, and in a lot of cases we're pulling things out of our brains that are things that we don't want in there in the first place, or that are like you know, sort of hinge on elements of our personalities that we struggle with. And then you have this physical object in front of you and you're like, oh man, thank God I got it out of my head, now what do I do with it? I don't want to give it to somebody. I don't want to give somebody my self-loathing.
I don't know about my struggle.
Right. It's ugly. I don't want you to have it.
It's kind of, I guess that's kind of ideally what I would like to get over if I could in art, because truly making something with those insecurities is one of the best ways of getting it out there and extrapolating on it without people knowing the specifics. Like, if you're feeling insecure and you draw like, I don't know, like a dark forest or something to kind of dwell on that and think about that and represent that physically, it shouldn't make me like embarrassed to have that out in the open to other people. It should be a healthy way to vent, but I just have not completely learned to like myself yet, I don't think.
Some of us never do, Nolan. Some of us never do.
Maybe that's what we need. Maybe if you and I could learn to like to not be so self-loathing all the time, we could actually like be like really, really good artists. I don't know. Maybe.
Well,
Or maybe we are already and we just haven't gotten noticed.
And it's funny because when, like, on the few occasions that someone has asked me to make something for them, so my sister asked me to make something for her to give to somebody else. And she told me what she wanted, not super specifically, but like she told me the general idea of what she wanted. And the thing that I ended up making, which I have yet to ship, sorry, Katie, because I'm the worst, is I actually really like it, but it wasn't my idea. And what kind of came out of it was something that I felt really good about, because I was trying to like fit within the bounds of what she had asked for and also make it something that would be appropriate for the person who it's going to and like where it might end up. So the parameters were really narrow, and I was like, all right, well, it has to say this, it has to function like this, and it should be, you know, not wacky, not like dark, not really sugary. It's just got to be...
It was very specific what she wanted, is what you're saying?
I don't even know that it was super specific what she wanted. It was just that when it came down to it, my idea of like who it was for, the reason she was giving it to them, or the reason she wants to give it to them, and what, like where it would end up, because it ended up that it would be for a former coworker of hers who was male, and it would likely end up in an office somewhere. So like on a desk, maybe on a wall. So it had to be small, it had to be, you know, it has to be able to hang or stand. You know, it can't be covered in glitter, I guess.
Fine.
And it needed to say the thing she asked me for it to say, and it can't be like, it can't be goofy because the quote's not goofy, it's gotta be serious, you know. It just had enough, it had enough walls around it that it was easy to make something that was like, oh yeah, I think that this is just the thing. But when I'm coming up with an idea on my own and just making it, it ends up being something I hate because I'm filled with self-loathing.
I recently had a commission for a guy, and I can't really get into the specifics of what it was because he doesn't want me talking about it, but like, he was very specific with what it was, right? He had a detail for where everything needed to go, sometimes even colors of things, right? The layout, the size, everything. He had little details for everything, and I truly kind of hated the process because I don't like being in such a small box when I'm working. I don't find very much comfort in it. I like it when I can kind of do my own thing in a lot of ways, or at least do my own thing within like a set framework, you know, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of that. Which is weird, because now that I'm thinking about it, that feels kind of contradictory to the fact that I'm not always super happy with my own vision. So, I don't know what that says about me. I like doing my own thing, but also I can't stand my own stuff sometimes. I don't know.
It's sometimes, and for me, like the thing that my sister asked me to make, I was the one who ended up putting the box around it. So what she gave me was super general, and I made it, I gave it more parameters probably than it needed, but it helped me to kind of like channel that. When someone gives you such specific instructions to make a piece of art like that, it almost feels like, you know, the only reason they're not making it themselves is because their hands won't do that. So you're basically just making their piece of art on their behalf because they physically can't or can't be bothered. So I can appreciate why that would be very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of comforting when you say it that way, though. It's like, they came to me because I have the know-how.
I have the magic hands.
Exactly. Yeah, that is kind of comforting. I don't know. I'm still not entirely sure about my psychology. Maybe I should meditate on that or something. Probably see a therapist, who knows? Do you have anything that you've been working on lately, though?
I've been doing a lot of drawing, just like sketchbook drawing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to start working on tattoo stuff more once I have more needles to use.
Yeah.
And hoping to start doing them like on myself soon, which is I'm really excited about.
That sounds cool.
I'm also super nervous about it, but
sure, but it would be cool.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. And then that stupid cape and the feather pauldron, which ended up being so cool, and I was so happy with it, but it was 2 weeks of me beating myself up.
Was it really?
Oh my god, yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, what was the hardest part with making that?
Getting it to work with me at all. Because it was the entire idea, the cape and then the feather pauldron was like literally the last 4 days before the party. Mm-hmm. It had been a whole different concept in the week before, and just everything I tried, it just wasn't working. And finally I just got mad and I said, fuck it, like I have to have something. Yeah. I have to have something to wear to this costume party. I have to come up with a costume. And that was what it ended up being, so.
I mean, it turned out nice.
Well, thank you.
Well, how did it differ from the original concept, though? Was there like...
The original concept was a gown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ran out of time for the gown, huh?
It just wasn't working.
Just wasn't doing it,
It just wasn't doing it.
Were you trying to tailor, like, a full thing?
Yes.
Oh my god, that's a lot of work.
I mean, I know when it comes to, like, sewing and garment construction, I have all the know-how in my head, and I am not always capable of making it work in practice. So I know what I'm supposed to do to get it to do the thing, but when I actually go to do it, it doesn't always work out that way. So it rarely works out that way.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know how that goes.
What's that for you?
The thing that I did recently for that guy, I was like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing for this. And then the more I did it, the more I was like, I've never done this before. Or like, I should know how to do this. Like, it's pretty much just taking knowledge of perspective and color theory and mashing it all together. But, yeah, in actual practice, it's very difficult. It's kind of also it's not very fun to talk about on the podcast because I can't describe what it is, I guess. But I wish I could paint a better picture for you.
Is it like a physical...
It's a digital thing. I'm gonna censor this really quick. It was for this dude's, like, I think a video game? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to show it to you later. It was pretty fun, but yeah, it was very specific. He knew what he wanted, which was kind of nice. But yeah, once I actually like got into doing it, I just like struggled because I haven't done like a like that before, and I was like really struggling to like make the perspective look nice and for like the colors to go well. It was just a lot of like jumping between objects and tweaking the colors and the dimensions and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love making I love like putting into things. Yeah. But I can see how, especially if it's A, not a thing that you've done, and B, not a thing that you are conceptualizing, but someone is conceptualizing for you, like why that would be so hard.
Yeah, I'm also just not great at doing like backgrounds. I struggle with them. I feel like I can make a nice looking one, but it takes way more time than it should because I really sit there and like have to keep erasing and redoing and tweaking and really think about perspective and how to like, what is that called? Composition, about like where everything should go so it looks right. I just think about it too much. I'm not comfortable with it yet.
I'm not very good at perspective either. So.
I would like to be more comfortable at it, but it's just so much time has to go into it, and time is one of those things that becomes harder and harder to come by. Do you ever feel like you don't really have enough time to do all the art that you want to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's like my number one thing. So, because I only work part-time, and I usually work in the afternoons, I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, I want to do this thing, whatever it might be. And then I like get ready and I have breakfast and I look at the clock and I'm like, oh man, but I only have 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
What can I accomplish in 2.5 hours? Which
nothing.
Sometimes it's a lot and I just don't consider how much I can do in that short amount of time because I don't want to put it down once I start. And sometimes it's nothing, so...
If I had 3 wishes, I would definitely wish I could get over that, like, impending work stress so that I could just do a thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I had an hour free, I could be like, oh, I have an hour, I can do whatever I want in this hour, as opposed to, like, you know, just worrying that work is coming and, like, I shouldn't get too invested. Like, I need to get over that.
I know. Well, and, you know, the opposite is true. When I'm on Fridays, when I work in the mornings... I come home at the end of the day or the end of my work day and I have lunch and then I look at the clock and I'm like, well, I've got to make dinner in 2 hours, so I can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like, there's just no time. And then by the time I do finish all my stuff, it's like 11 o'clock and then I'll work till like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'm exhausted the next day.
Yeah. And you have to drag all your stuff out and clean it all up and...
Yeah, it's the cycle. I mean, I don't even need to do that much cleanup for my stuff. Like, I just need to draw with a pencil and I would be good. What really, honestly, you know, it takes up a lot of, like, mental preparation is editing these.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
Because, like, I have a lot of fun recording them, but going back and editing the audio, it takes a while for my brain to get into that work state because, I mean, if I'm drawing something, I can listen to music, I can listen to a podcast, whatever. If I'm making the thumbnails, I can do it. I can listen to whatever in the background to distract my brain. If I'm editing audio, I can't listen to music, I can't have something playing in the background, I just have to sit there and be at the computer and be ready to, like, delete things and shorten clips and edit it around for what equals like 3 or 4 hours worth of work, you know?
Do you do like fidget toys when you're doing it?
No, well, kind of. I'll have like a little action figure on my desk. The other day it was Jet the Hawk from Sonic. It's just like playing around with that. Mm-hmm. Like I'd be like, because you'll have, it's not all like closing things up. Sometimes you'll have like a good 10 minutes where it's like you don't have to do anything with it, but then you'll hear like
too long of a pause.
Too long of a pause, or like you can hear me going like, and there's a lot of editing out. People don't appreciate how many times I edit out me going, like cutting that out, that little lip smack, because I do it a lot, and I say a lot. I cut out my uhs sometimes because I will say and for a long time. I don't know. If you had the time and you had the money and the resources, what would you make? Do you have like a dream project?
Oh my god, yes, I have so many of those. Chief among them, if I had nothing but money and nothing but time, I would build my own house.
That would be awesome.
Like flat out 100%. I want to do that so bad.
And you could wire it too, because you know electricity.
That's true.
Which is really cool.
That's true. I could do some of the plumbing too.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
And then, like that would be the thing that I'd want to do more than anything in the world. And I have rationalized to myself that like someday I might be able to build like my own art studio outside of my house because you know, someone's a little bit opposed to the concept of like a barn raising to build a house and stuff. So
raising a barn and all that. What if you got like what if you like started to build the house or whatever, and you know Steve comes along, he's like, oh, it's looking great, honey, like it's doing great or whatever, and like as the house building goes along, Steve starts to realize more and more that you're building the house from Family Guy slowly. Do you think Steve would stop you?
No. I don't think he would at all. Although his number one worry is that I'm going to build a house that's going to tip over.
I mean, that is a concern to some degree. I'm sure you're going to like have other people building this house, right? Or is it just going to be...
at some point I'd probably have to have other people helping me, like
You're just gonna go do it yourself, huh?
Yeah, well, and because people are always like, oh, we're building a house. Like, bullshit.
You paid a dude.
You paid a dude to draw a drawing that you said, that's nice, and then a bunch of other people are doing it, and at the end of it, like, it wasn't your idea, it wasn't your labor, it wasn't your hard work, it wasn't your blood, sweat, and tears, it was your money and someone else's everything. You didn't build shit.
You gotta build a house completely from scratch. You have to cut down the trees. You have to pack the drywall yourself. You have to make all of it from scratch now.
Yeah.
Just to be like, look at this, and the electrical works.
Look at this.
And the plumbing half works.
You motherfuckers, I did it myself.
That would honestly be awesome. I can't imagine. Okay, wait, what was the other thing though? You said build a house, build a studio.
Yeah, build a house or an art studio. Oh my god, nothing but money and time. I would do so many things. I would do all the things.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to try doing stained glass someday.
Oh, that would be cool. Like big ones?
Yeah,
big
and
windows.
To be honest, just doing anything in a larger format, like, and I was gonna ask you about this too, so much of what I end up doing ends up being, like, small to medium size, it can hang on a wall, it's nothing crazy, but I always, like, want to do things that are big, like big sculpture, big building, big painting.
Yeah.
But, like, where am I gonna put that? Mm-hmm. How am I gonna store it? How am I gonna move it?
I mean, this room's pretty empty. You could just, like, put a big statue in here.
That's fair.
This is the Greek bust room. It's like a half-size David or whatever, just like striping the ceiling.
It would be like a third of the size. But then how would I get it out the damn door? You know what I mean? Like,
how do we get it in the damn door is the problem. We have to take out that window and maybe part of the wall, I think.
Yeah, just there's so much to it that I'm like, well, what would I do with it?
Yeah.
And, where am I gonna put it? How am I gonna get it that size? The time, the money, like... What about you? Do you have feelings on that, or a dream project if you have nothing but money and time?
I wanna do animation, but my problem right now is every time I start to try to learn programs like Blender, where I could do 2D animation or 3D animation, I could do whatever. Mm-hmm. 3 hours has passed and I barely understand how the timeline functions, and then I gotta go to bed, and then I wake up the next day and I start Googling like 3D modeling. And I'll start to 3D model, and like 4 hours later, I've done like half of a head. And so I go to bed. That's my problem right now. So like, I would love to animate stuff. I have stories, I have little stories in mind that I want to animate. Yeah, it's just a matter of actually having time to do it. And a big thing to that, and I'm sorry to the people who like this channel, but it's YouTube. YouTube eats up a bunch of my time. And so, at some point, I'm gonna trim down on the once a week thing, so you guys better enjoy it while it lasts, because at some point it's not gonna be once a week.
Yeah, heathens.
You heathens, you took me for granted. That's kind of it. That's my only real ambition right now. Oh, and building the shed. Getting the shed up and running is like a little studio. That's not really a dream project, but it's a thing that needs to happen at some point so that we have room in the house for more.
Yeah.
For, not having my desk in the dining room type things.
And so you have your own space for everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I would. I do like the idea of making like big things like that, but also, yeah, I'm not as big. I don't know if I think that like big statues and big sculptures and like stained glass and things like that are really cool, but I'm definitely not ambitious enough to make something that big, you know what I mean? I'm fine with making like little things for now.
Yeah.
That you could see pictures of blown up like 50 times their original size to make it look bigger, I don't know.
Yeah, which is cool though, and like, I just, I like seeing art prints out in the wild or in people's houses, and you're like, oh, it's like the 4 foot by 3 foot giant canvas, and it's so big and it's so tactile, and like it's so cool. Even if it's just a print of a piece of art, the like scale of it is something that I really like.
That was definitely my favorite. I shouldn't say my favorite. It was one of my favorite parts about working at Dankrite was being able to like draw a character, and then the next day the boss is like, hey, check it out, and he printed out like a full poster of like the character or whatever. It was fun to see that.
Yeah.
I'd like posters of my stuff someday. Maybe next King Con.
That'd be cool.
We'll do that. Next Comic Con that we do, maybe I'll do like some bigger prints like that. I don't know. That's an idea.
Yeah. There's just something about scaling up of anything really that I find really appealing. You know, I don't know that that's everybody's cup of tea. Some people like making things that are tiny, but
yeah, I kind of like. I don't know. I like making, when I make like digital art, for example, like I make it on a canvas, like it's on like a little screen, but like I make it at a canvas size that's like, I usually do them at like 600 DPI. So I mean, if you wanted to print them out like life size, you totally could. I guess you could print it out bigger than that too, but I do work in a way where it allows that possibility later on without there being like a resolution issue, you know? That's a big thing with digital art. That's kind of a downside to it, I guess, unless you're working with vectors. But also that's something that's kind of become an internet aesthetic, is the idea of things being pixelated and low quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, if you were to get a career job in, like, I guess the quote-unquote art industry, what would you do for a living?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've looked at a lot of things, and a lot of it is stuff that I'm not qualified for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But I've looked into, as shitty as it sounds, corporate art. Like, you know, corporate buildings that are just filled with sort of non-offensive, like, vaguely representative art.
It's like the art you see hanging up in like a Days Inn motel.
Yeah, or like in a, you know, if you've ever been into a big corporate office building, they'll have art all over the place, but it's all kind of like non-specific and, you know, vaguely representative, but you can't look at it and be like, oh, this is the horrors of genocide. It's, it's like, oh, this is the inception of the idea of
this is kind of like a
purple.
It's like a twisting golden thing, kind of. It's like it's on the desk there. It's very interesting what you have there. Yeah. Honestly, that sounds like a pretty good one to get into because everyone needs little things to decorate their office. You know.
Well, and you know, it's whole buildings that need this art to exist there, and it is frustrating that people don't. They notice it and they appreciate it, but they don't appreciate it enough to want to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so corporations will hire out, you know, like artist firms to make this non-specific kind of art for them that's going to hang in this boardroom or that's going to hang in this hallway or what have you. Mm-hmm. And just the idea of it being like, A, someone's going to pay me to do art, that sounds awesome. Mm-hmm. B, someone's gonna pay me to do art that like doesn't have to be anything, even better.
That could just sit there and sculpt a bunch of weird things and then you make a mold of it and you replicate it 50 times and it goes in each office in the building and like, yeah, honestly that sounds pretty cool. Yeah. You'd probably get paid a lot of money to do it too.
I actually don't know if you get paid a lot of money to do it, but I do know that they do get paid, so...
I mean, yeah, that's true. You could probably retire from that at some point, like, sure, that's probably good.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly a good idea. It seems like a good one to get into. And it's not an answer I've heard before. I've asked a lot of people that question, and, you know, most of them are like, I want to be an animator, or like, I want to do paintings and stuff like that. So that's a pretty unique answer, honestly.
I'm just, you know, if someone was going to pay me to do it, I would probably end up like being a painter or doing, like, I want to do something like that because it is like legitimate. It would be places, people would see it. And someone would probably give me a little bit of direction about what they wanted, and then when on my own time I could do what I wanted. That or like window display designing or like window display crafting, like stores like Anthropology or Urban Outfitters. They're huge windows that they have these like phenomenal displays in. Except you know, somehow less regimented than that. But, yeah.
That's a good idea too. That honestly sounds like it would be fun. You just kind of get to decorate stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Get set up the little mannequins and.
Well, they make these huge art displays, and they're beautiful.
Oh, you're talking about the ones that have like full on. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. That honestly, that would be really cool too. Honestly.
Yeah.
I think if I couldn't get into like doing stuff independently and getting paid from people just buying my stuff or whatever, I think it'd be fun to be like a prop designer.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I think making props for movies would be so much fun. Like Adam Savage, like his whole thing. Have you ever watched his YouTube channel?
I've not.
He has a whole YouTube channel where he's such a cool dude. His whole philosophy for like his YouTube channel is making the threshold of entry to like prop making as low as possible.
That's great.
He's like an industry professional. I mean, you know, he made props for like the new Ghostbusters. He worked on like a bunch of the Star Wars prequels, a bunch of stuff. He's made a lot of things for movies, and he'll sit there and he'll explain to you like, oh yeah, the piping on this is like wren shape and it costs about this much and you can cut it with this, and like we trimmed it using this machine and you can glue it with this, and just sit there and tell you like how they made the gun from the Matrix, or like how Hellboy's Samaritan was made and like the materials he's using for it.
That's
and, like,
really cool.
It's really cool. I like the idea of making props because at the end of it they have like a physical thing that looks like a real thing, but it's just made of rubber or whatever. It's really cool.
And I think it's neat that they're trying to lower the bar of entry because, you know, people not appreciating, not wanting to pay for art, but it's all around you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to stuff like that, anyone who has any amount of skill in cosplaying, the stuff that they make is unbelievable.
It's really cool.
It's so cool and it's so well done, and it deserves a little more respect, I feel like.
Yeah.
And, you know, they could very easily apply that same ability to a number of other things that they could really get paid for, but people won't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know. A bunch of people that just do cosplay, they could totally have careers in making props for movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which, luckily, movies seem to be getting back into prop making.
Yeah.
There's that weird little swing where, like, a lot of things just became CGI for a while, and then people really started to hate it, and it kind of swung back. Yeah. I think it kind of got to a point where studios were like, okay, CGI artists, we need like way too many of them. We'll just get someone to actually make the stupid gun that this guy's gonna hold, so we don't have to model it and like rotoscope it to his hand, you know?
It's easier, it looks better, you know? And then you end up with a physical object that you can manipulate on screen, which I imagine would lead to better acting than trying to pretend all the stuff is around you and pretend you're using all these things when you have like you have a thing, you have a gun.
You have a gun.
Guns run.
I think the thing with it is I kind of dog on a lot of movies that come out because they kind of I think blockbusters have gotten worse over time, and they're probably going to keep getting worse for a while until they get better. But I will say that filmmakers these days are a lot more aware of when to use practical versus digital. They're a lot smarter about knowing like, okay, we probably should do Godzilla all CGI versus like, okay, we should probably make this truck that the character's driving around an actual truck, because modeling a truck and like making 3D models of all the characters for it probably would take a lot more time than just putting them in a lot and then cutting them out later on. Like, stuff like that. So I will give filmmakers credit. I will give you credit, Godzilla vs. Kong people. Who made that movie?
I don't even want to know. It was terrible.
It's like Garth Brooks. What's his name? Is it Gareth Edwards? I don't remember.
It was an abomination.
But the monkey floated. You know, like
abomination.
But the floating monkey. And then they sing the one song at the very end. I was surprised that movie. It ends with that one song, the "All I need is the air that I breathe."
Oh,
it ends with that song, which was really weird. It was a weird way to end that movie.
It was because it was a bad movie.
can't wait for the next one. I'm so excited. We could do this all over again.
It's terrible.
Okay, one last question for you. Where can we find your stuff online?
At Mazzle.com/store/the_darling_design.
Don't worry, we'll edit it in. It's fine.
It's like, please edit this, because I always have to look it up.
I was like, yeah, you still have your shop up, don't you?
I do. I haven't really done anything with it. I'm not sure that anything is like still active in it. And I have an Etsy that nothing is active in.
Can people still buy the suck a butt sticker?
They might be able to.
That's a good sticker.
It is a good sticker.
I like that sticker a lot.
Yeah. I should probably just actually have some of them made and sell them for real, but I have to have somewhere to do that.
Next Comic-Con.
I can be found on Instagram at bedarling_design. It's BEA darling_design.
Yep. There you go.
Hey!
Go support her stuff. She sells stickers. One of them says suck a butt. I have it on a sketchbook. It's really funny.
Also support Nolan McCool because he is the McCoolest.
I just launder the money. It's not worth it.
I mean, that's really what it's all about. That's the baseline. The root of all art is money laundering.
You will be feeding my opioid addiction. I'm warning you.
You will be contributing to the house I'm going to build that will not tip over. 100% is not going to tip over.
The Family Guy house. It collapses as soon as you enter it.
You shut the door and all the walls collapse.
It's just like that Charlie Chaplin movie where the whole thing just comes down and he's just standing there what the fuck happened? Well, that was all. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Good for now, I think. Did you?
No.
No? Oh, no?
I don't think so. Leo's here. Say hello, Leo. I wonder if the microphone will pick that up.
I kind of hope so.
Do you have anything you want to say, boy? Anything at all? Okay, never mind.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.